Want to have more fun this Halloween? Well, guess what? You're in luck because our guest today created the most fun economic game for Halloween I've ever seen. Let's do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Stacking Benjamins. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, and today, Chuck Jaffe, my friend from the Money Life with Chuck Jaffe show. Chuck is a guy, by the way, who in the 1990s, when I was a financial planner, I would always point to his columns because Chuck has always been the voice of reason. And so to get Chuck on the show now, to have him sharing his wisdom with us, at least a couple times a year is fantastic. But every year, he's got this Halloween game. We can either give out candy or we can have some fun and teach some money lessons and give out candy. So Chuck is going to do that for us today. Now, he's been doing this for a while, so his is a little more advanced, but I'm hoping you get a couple great ideas today about how to maybe spread some fun money lessons among your community. So before we get to Chuck, make sure you subscribe to see more videos. Click the like button so everybody gets this fun Halloween experience. Do those things, and then let's have some fun with Chuck Jaffe. And it wouldn't be Halloween week, wouldn't be able to kick off the week without this gentleman who comes, by the way, every year dressed up as like a semi-cynical journalist type podcasting guy. Been around the block. Chuck Jaffe's back. How are you, man?
I'm great. Trick or treat, Joe.
That is a scary, scary uniform you bring down here every year, my friend.
You know, my favorite Halloween costume always involved things with a box. When I was a kid, it was always like, can I do something that I got to wear a box and make a box into a costume? and I am a huge believer, and I have it ready at the drop of a hat, that an ATM machine makes a fabulous, fabulous costume. So, you know, I'm ready.
Let's focus on this year's edition of your amazing game that you play at Halloween. For people that, well, everybody knows Chuck, because as you were coming down the stairs, you heard us talk about the game and about how you come here every year to celebrate Halloween with us. But I guess I want to ask you this. As you play the game with kids year after year after year, do you find that the average kid who comes to play your game, instead of just getting Halloween candy, are they generally good at it? Are they bad at it? What do you really like about the decision-making that you see in front of you?
Well, I think what you have to recognize is they are as good at it as they put the time and effort in to do it. If what they want to do is move on, then they will make whatever choice is impulsive. If what they want to do is figure out how to get a win, and they want to decide what that win would be, they become great consumers. And it's an important lesson, because I think that's how we are. We all know people, like my wife will tell you, you know, she doesn't really care about money. She needs it, she wants it, etc. But it has never been like, she's not the one who's going to go, oh, let me figure out the best way to save this way. She'll use a coupon if it's handy, but she won't spend any time looking for it or what have you. So we know adults are the same way, that some have a real interest in this and try to make it work and others don't. And kids, it's almost ingrained in them from the beginning, because you will see the kids who are like, yeah, I've been here before. Just give me a candy bar. Just give me a buck or whatever. And you get the other ones who really want to dig in and figure it out. And none of them are wrong, but you do kind of hope, and maybe I'll get it if I live here long enough, because I've been doing this now for 10 years, that you'll see some of those things play out. But again, I've had great conversations with kids about risk. I have kids who really want to understand what's done. I've had kids who have won big, who come back the next year and are like, I won big. The odds of me doing that twice are so slim, I'll take a different choice.
They're already counting a reversion to the mean.
Exactly, which is really interesting when you think you're so far ahead. Why wouldn't you just take another chance? Yet that's how they come wired. So some of it is how they're wired. Some of it is, you know, they're dressed in costume and they're going out. What they do like is that this is different. And that's why I'll tell everyone, you can do this at home. And my joke is always for the people who go, I only get a few people for Halloween. Let me explain. If you only get a few people for Halloween, there's an easy way to do this. Go buy full-sized versions of your favorite candy or your spouse's favorite candy. Then take a couple of envelopes. However many candy bars you have, take that many envelopes, put $1 in each envelope and $5 in one envelope. And when the kids come, offer them the choice, cash or candy, and see what they take. Because what you're going to be left with is A, your favorite candy bar or your spouse's favorite candy. So there's nothing wrong with that. And B, you gave out full-size candy bars or money, which encourages them to come back. And we'd all like more trick-or-treaters on Halloween. If for those who get way too much candy, or if you don't do this for yourself, candy is currency on Halloween. So if you don't do like, I'm going to give out cash or candy the way I do, come back the other way. I always tell the story of my two kids. I had one daughter who only liked plain chocolate, and the other was a garbage can. She would eat anything. And the result is when they first get home, they'd lay out their candy, and the one who only ate chocolate would trade whatever she had, kind of straight up. Oh, I'll give you one of these for this. But then she'd get to where her sister only had like 3 plain chocolate bars left. And her sister put the screws to her. Her sister was like, no, you want my last 3 plain chocolate bars? I'll take pretty much everything else you've got.
Are you saying the tariffs got pretty high?
Yeah, exactly. But it teaches them economic value. There is a real thing in all of this, that the lessons are real and they're being learned in other ways. But if you feel that you got, gee, I didn't get a fair deal. Why didn't I get a fair deal? Well, it's because I wasn't willing to compromise here. Those are negotiating skills that someday are going to be something that helps you with a car or with a job or whatever. And you might as well learn them on the easiest currency you're ever going to get. So I love Halloween as a teaching tool beyond all of the things that make me love Halloween.
I got one more thing, Chuck, before we get into this year's version of the game, which I can't wait to hear. It's one of the most exciting things I do every year is hear about the new game. Like, I'm just so excited. But before we do that, you haven't incorporated this into the game yet, but you talk about your one daughter who loves the chocolate bar, and so the other daughter makes her pay. There is a chocolate bar that kids like more than any other, you told me, which I did not find surprising because this is a good candy bar, but you haven't incorporated it in the game yet either.
So one of the changes we made a couple years ago, and for anybody who's hearing this for the first time, I started this about 10 years ago. And basically once I got to where it was a little more cooked out, I then took it my way and went extreme with it. But every year it changes. And if I lived in a perfect world, I'd do it. And then I'd give my neighbor last year's version and they'd do that. And it would just keep going, because then you could have real, trust me, I've talked to award-winning behavioral finance economists on how valuable this skill set is and the information that we get is. But last year, I think it was 2 years ago, I switched to where it was a full-size candy bar. So for years, It was only, you came to my house, your return on investment was 3 fun-size pieces of candy.
I call them frustrating size, Chuck, not fun size, frustrating size.
Okay. But they weren't the really tiny ones.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so you get 3 of those. And I ultimately changed it to a full-size candy bar. Now, a full-size candy bar has a retail value of $1.69, but I'm cheap and I'm getting them for about 75 cents each on a sale. So truthfully, I'm not spending any more money. And by the way, this only applies to kids 3rd grade and up. Younger kids just get 3 full fun-size candy bars or frustrating-size candy bars, and off they go. And when I first changed, I did full-size candy bars. I bought whatever was on sale. Well, last year, what was on sale was Nestle's Crunch Bars. And it was Nestle's Crunch Bars and Hershey Bars was what I had. And we ran out of Crunch Bars. And normally, the full-size candy bar, since we went to it, was not a big attraction the year before. But with the Crunch Bars, every Crunch Bar went.
I love Crunch Bars so much.
Yeah. And again, so you need to understand that the base case for a kid 3rd grade and up when they come to my house is now you can have a full-size candy bar or you can have a dollar bill. Now, again, candy on Halloween is cheap. Even if it's a full-size candy bar, my neighbors probably gave you a couple of other pieces that have as much weight to them. So candy is cheap and you'd be better off taking the full-size candy bar. It's a retail value of $1.59, or 69, even though I only paid 75 cents for it, right? The retail value, $1.69. The retail value of the dollar, $1. So candy would actually be the better choice. And then we get into the wild stuff. And I will tell you that, yeah, I now believe that the candy that you pick matters. And it's not, I don't know whether that's Crunch bars were not as prevalent among my neighbors, or whether it's, plain candy bar, Hershey bar was boring. But whatever it is, the Crunch bars last year, literally I had a couple of kids who, when the last Crunch bar went, was like, well, I would have done that, but now I'm not going.
But there's no Crunch bar.
Exactly. When the Crunch bar was now just any other candy bar, they were like, no. Who knew?
It's an Almond Joy. Forget it. So, okay. So the base trade you got to this year, like it was last year, I think, full-size candy bar or $1. But wait, there's more this year.
Yeah, well, there's more every year. And actually, I really liked what we did last year. So I'm not changing the other base trades. So this part is also what we did last year. Your choice, instead of taking the full-size candy bar or the dollar bill, was you could trade me 2 pieces of fun-size candy. Though I will tell you, some of my neighbors are so cheap, it's not even the frustrating size. It's the
tiny.
Really? Like, I know what your properties are worth, guys. You can spend more on candy. But 2 pieces of candy, retail value somewhere between $0.25 and 33 cents, to pick an envelope that has between $0.25 and $8. Half the envelopes have 25 or 50 cents, but the average envelope was $1.60. That means that the expected value of this choice was $1.25, which is the average envelope minus the cost of the candy you traded. So again, if your choice was $1 or $1.69 of candy in a candy bar, or $1.25 by trading me some candy and getting some cash and hoping it'll be worth more than $1. Or you could play the lottery. You would trade me 5 pieces of candy to pick from 25 envelopes. There's a $25 jackpot, but just one envelope that has the money in it. So the average per envelope, $1. That's the same dollar you could have gotten by just taking $1. But now you've traded me 5 pieces of candy. That's more than $1 worth of candy. So your expected value is negative. And oh, by the way, lots of kids go home with nothing. Now you want the twist joke? We have always said, don't open the envelopes around us. We don't want to know, because in part I have to tell the next kid. And if I know that the jackpot's been given out, which I did one year because a kid won, they got to the edge of my property, they opened it, they start jumping up and down and they're thanking me because they had won the big jackpot. I still have all the other kids coming and I want this to be an experiment and I want them to learn the lessons, but I don't want to feel like a monster on Halloween. I took your candy and
You're
gave
going
you
home
nothing.
empty-handed.
And I knew you would get nothing, right? Like, that's the worst. But this year, if you want, you can open those envelopes in the big lottery option in front of us. And if you lose, we'll give you a second chance lottery. The second chance lottery, you're going to give us 5 more pieces of candy, but because it's the second chance, the jackpot is only worth $20. So you're actually spending the same amount of money for even less of a reward, which we hope will give you did you have twice as much fun? Because if you didn't have twice as much fun, there's a valuable lesson there, which is, although I've never bought a lottery ticket myself, I understand it. And I think there's real value in playing what if games around the lottery. I think that is a wonderful thing that you can do when the lottery jackpot gets big. Have a conversation, even if you're not in it, about what you would do and how you would prioritize things. And then cut it down, go, oh, I didn't win $1 billion. What would happen if I won $1 million? What would happen if I won 100,000? What would happen if I won 10,000? Because a $10,000 windfall is very reasonable in a lot of people's lives. How would you prioritize what you're doing? So I don't mind lotteries, but the idea that, like, oh, I bought 10 tickets. Did you get 10 times the enjoyment? Did you get 10 times the what if value? No, you pretty much didn't. So the result of that is I'm hoping we're going to teach that lesson, but I don't know, because it might teach them, hey, gamble, take another chance, even though it's a stupid chance, and maybe you can come out somehow ahead.
But the math lesson here too, which I like, because I think for kids, they might not get that I spent double the amount of candy, which means that the prize is worth less. But also by diminishing the prize level, I think it drives that part home. Every dollar you throw in this, the prize is worth less money.
That's correct. So that's my twist for this year is second chance lottery, which means I'm taking more candy from babies.
But only the ones that say that they want to play. Now, and by the way, to set this up too, everybody, if you're brand new to this segment of the show, we should go back to some basics here, Chuck. You also have a piece of paper that you send them home with that kind of explains things. So parents can be on board with it. And this is great, Stackers. If you're going to do this, if you're going to emulate Chuck's game here, this piece of paper, I think, helps drive it home.
Well, and in fact, it's the piece of paper is essential for two reasons. One is that, yes, you hope when the kids would take it home that they will find it and they get it, even if they're making the small trades, you get the small envelope because every envelope, the good thing about the paper is the paper helps make it more difficult for a kid to figure out what's in the envelope. They're looking for, is the envelope bigger? Trust me, kids will game any system you have, try to figure it all out, etc. And we've had to go to some great lengths to try to make sure that kids are, and mind you, the lengths we go to, every one of those envelopes that has that you're trading two pieces of candy for has a coin in it, right? But that coin is going to be a quarter, a $50, or a $1 coin. So the $8 jackpot is a $1 coin, a $5 bill, and a $2 bill. And that way, it isn't much bigger than something that has $3.50 in it, which is a $2 bill, a $1 bill, and a $50. Like, that's and it doesn't feel that much different from something that has a $1 coin in it. That's what we're trying to do to make it that if somebody's touching them, they don't quite know, they can't figure it out, etc. So yeah, we have to do some of those things.
Multiple.
And the second chance lottery will have a bigger piece of paper in it, which will have that much more of an explanation of what happens if you played the second chance. And the second chance you cannot open in front of us. You're going to take it and go.
And you're gone. So you don't know that one.
We did have kids last year who gaslighted us into thinking that they had won the jackpot. They literally went away from us. We heard them celebrating when they came back because I live on a cul-de-sac. So they passed me coming in and then they walked by on the way out. When they walked by on the way out, they were like celebrating. We thought it had been won. And then we opened up the envelopes and nope, we still had our money.
That's funny. I love kids so much for that reason. What's interesting is I love the risk reward continuum here, Chuck. Clearly, the trade that is the safest trade is still the dollar of the candy bar, right? I mean, either side of that trade is still, I'm coming home with something. So I'm good either way there, no matter what I do. Although you look at the currency of the candy being worth more monetarily, but on this particular day, I have a whole damn bag of that. And I don't have a ready market to move that into money. So for that reason, the dollar bill might resonate more. So there's that on the safety end, but on the lottery end, you've got a whole different, thing going on. I'm wondering proportionally last year, what proportion of the kids, because in all of these, you're playing with house money, right? You truly, they're risking nothing. Different than when we're investing. How many kids go crazy and do the lottery versus the kids that decide they want the safe bet? How does that work out proportionally?
Well, it does change a little bit by year because I've done things where the lottery was a better proposition. I've done things where the lottery is a worse proposition. I like that it's now $1, is the average envelope. So it kind of works out that way. It still is the biggest choice because, and it makes sense that it would be not entirely from a risk perspective, but again, because the candy as currency is cheap to them and the chance that they could win $25, which does, especially as the kids get up to 5th, 6th, 7th grade, it starts to mean more to them. Like they recognize that like winning $25 would be a big deal.
So that coupled with the novelty factor of, hey, I'm not getting this at every other house. The Jaffe house is the party house.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, the kids know what's coming. The kids who have been in the neighborhood know what's coming. And we live in a neighborhood that there's no through streets. Like you come in off of the main drag and everything ends in a cul-de-sac. And by the way, with Halloween being on a Friday night this year, I am super excited because it'll be great. And my cul-de-sac, pretty much everybody does the nines. Like they're all the way dressed up. There's all kinds of lights and moving whatever and all these other sorts of things. So it's a lot of fun.
It's funny. We're having some work done at our house. And so I'm in this Airbnb duplex right now, but it's on this street that's known for big time Halloween. And Cheryl's like, do you want to do this? I'm like, it's our 1 year that we get to do a huge Halloween party. Like, let's take part in it. It's going to be fun. So I don't know. It's an opportunity for me. I love the Nestle Crunch, but the Kit Kat is where it's at. I got to say. Kit Kat.
The answer is only, are you going to spend up for that? I think, like I said, for the people who don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters, the right way to do it, rather than buying the frustrating size, buy the full-size bars, and then, you can offer the cash as an option.
That's what we do generally is the full-size bars. I haven't done the game. I need to do the game this year with all the craziness in my life. I probably won't do the game, but I need to do the game. I think the game is as much fun for me as it clearly is for the kids. I think it's as fun for you as it is for the kids. So I got to get down with the game this year, though. I expect to have, based on hanging out with people that have lived in this area, trick-or-treaters in the hundreds of trick-or-treaters. So I doubt I'm doing full-size candy bars.
Yeah, people have asked me about the money. Look, I do spend a little bit more. It's also because I write about it, I talk about it, et cetera. It's also a tax deduction for me if I really want to take it, which is just kind of wild when you think about that too.
Does any of that tax deduction accidentally end up in your stomach? Accidentally, oops, I can't believe it. I
don't know that I'm allowed to feed them candy that I haven't tested myself.
I think that's fair. You can't have that stuff going out willy-nilly.
And once Halloween is over, I mean, it might be that candy gets thrown out. That's a possibility. And at least in terms of the IRS, I'm not keeping it for a full year because then it wouldn't be good the following year. So whatever does not get used for Halloween is still a tax deduction. It's not being returned to the store.
No, it still is part of the office. As you're doing the Money Life show, you have to keep the sugar level up. I mean, it's #science, Chuck.
But I really do encourage this. And like I said, if you don't do this or you're out with your kids, again, if you're going to take a little bit of your kids' candy, as much as it's a joke or whatever, do it with something. If your kids come back with sacks of candy, there are charities you can donate it to. You can send it to places like orthodontists, collect it and send it to the troops, things along those lines. You know what? It's a really good thing to do. And then put the money lesson in with, hey, we'd like to donate this. So which ones, I will give you value for some of your candy. It's not a bad lesson to teach. You can get by with some candy. You don't need all of this candy. Place a value on which ones you like the most. You don't want to give those up. Place a value on those you like the least. I'd be perfectly happy if everybody took my whatever it is, because I'm not going to eat them anyway. Great. What kind of value can you get? And maybe that value, again, is just in giving it away. This has no value to you, but let's give it away and teach that kind of frugality where, translate it to being an adult and you're on a buy nothing group on a Facebook page going, hey, I don't need this motor oil that I found, and somebody else is saving a couple of bucks, and you're just being a good citizen and a good neighbor.
Not only will you hear, Stackers, the results of what happened after Halloween on the Money Life show with Chuck Jaffe, but there's a festival going on, I swear, every day on the Money Life show. What's coming up, Chuck, besides after Halloween, we're going to hear the results of the game?
Well, we have a segment on the show that we call the Money Life Market Call, where we talk with money managers about how they do their job, what they're picking, et cetera. And we don't talk politics on my show, but we do have one coming where we are talking to somebody who runs the MAGA fund and somebody who runs the Dems fund on like day after each other. And the interesting thing is just about the methodology. And what you're going to find out is that the methodologies are very similar. It's just you're sort of looking at research and in one case going, okay, I'll lean left or I'll lean right. But that's an interesting one that's coming. We've got some great guests. Rob Arnott from Research Affiliates has done a tremendous amount of research about how maybe the indexes we have are not truly reflective of everything that's going on. We talked with him about that, all kinds of things. Oh, and Richard Thaler has a new book out. The Nobel Prize winning behavioral economist has a new book out with Alex Imus, and we'll be talking about that on the show. Every day there's something great to talk about.
Yeah, I wish there was something going on. If only you had something going on, Chuck, it would be perfect.
Yes, but for you, Joe, I am
the Halloween money monster.
I don't know about you, but I took a ton of notes there. And I think the big one is this piece of paper that you put in the envelopes. Not only does it help you, but it also explains to the parents. Getting the parents on board with the fact that you did something a little different, I think it extend the lessons about what happened. The second thing that I really want to emphasize is that Chuck's been doing this for a long time, obviously. So for him, the fact that he has 3 different competitions going on is because kids come back and they want something a little different. Chuck is like the theme park, right? Where people want a different ride the whole time that they're here. Clearly, when you're first starting out, people just like one. And the one that Chuck started with, we didn't talk much about, but that's the middle game. And that middle game is 3 pieces of candy in exchange for an envelope, right? You can either just take a piece of candy or you can give Chuck 3 candies for the chance to upgrade. And so that was the middle game that was his original game that he played, was to see how many kids just wanted candy versus how many kids wanted to take a chance for more, but looking at the probabilities of maybe more. It's also the reason, by the way, he migrated later on to having 2 different competitions to see, are kids risk takers? Are kids not risk takers? Which is closer to what we have today. All right. That's going to do it for today. Once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get all of our phenomenal mentors like Chuck in the future. Follow Chuck at Money Life with Chuck Jaffe. It's a fantastic show. Chuck's been a friend for a long time, and I can vouch for the fact that you will learn a lot listening to Chuck Jaffe, and it's all incredibly responsible money stuff. He does not like any of the alchemy, and he calls out just some of the horrible things that you will hear from charlatans, right? Second, like the video. Third, you know what? Comment on the video. Let us know if you're going to do some Halloween stuff. And if you do the Halloween game, let us know. Or do you have a different game that you play with kids during the year? Let's help educate our kids. All right. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy. We'll see you next time back here. Go stack some Benjamins.